Hello.
Hi, both of you. How are you?
Hey. So, welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken. This is our 22nd episode. And today we're going to give you another special guest that has a testimony to share. Smitha is from India and she has made it to the international magazine. She has been through a lot of traumas and abuses from childhood to adulthood, and she's going to share those connections with you. And again, we are here to share life experiences to help others going through similar situations. So I'm going to bring up Smitha. She's going to introduce herself, tell you just a little bit about herself, what she does, and just to give you a little glimpse of some of the traumas. And then, as you know, Sid and I are going to get into the questions. Welcome, Smitha. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here. And I'm really honored to be on the show to share my side of the story. And let's get started. I can't wait more.
So tell us, the first time that you have experienced trauma, that first traumatic moment for you, that you realized was trauma or abuse. What was your first kind of experience going through that?
When we talk about traumas, we always wanted to pinpoint that specific place where it started. But if you really look at, not everything starts at one point that you wanted it to be starting or think in that way. Let's say, for example, traumas are not like an overnight thing. One day the person is really nice to you, the other day he just gets up and starts abusing you. It doesn't work that way. They introduce the trauma very slowly into your life, as if that is what the lifestyle is about. They are going to tell you, like, yeah, you are such a nice person, and they are trying to help you more majority of the times, and that's how it all gets started. So to answer your question, it started for me even before my marriage. He used to follow me everywhere that I go. However, I never had a question, because the way he was expressing that thing was, he is in love with me very much, and he just wanted to protect me from everything around. So it doesn't give me a red flag at that way, though I felt uncomfortable, or like felt what is actually happening, why is he following or anything, but I just went with it. Slowly it started inducing to a place where I'm not allowed to eat what I wanted to eat. I'm not allowed to dress up in the way that I wanted to. I'm not allowed to step out of the house. If I keep going in this way, I'll just give you a biggest example. Like, I'm not allowed to deliver my own baby at the time that I got my pains. That's how much the abuse actually went to. So yeah, that's how it started.
Yeah, wow. Um, were there, outside of him, just kind of being clingy, was there any signs that you can recall, that you probably should have paid attention to as well?
Yes, when he was hanging out with me in that way, if I tell him, like, yes, I'm not really comfortable having him around my friends or any of it, he would push it a little more. He would push it a little more, it until I take it up. If not, it goes to a verbal abuse first. And it came to a point, he started lifting his hand and started beating. And he says, like, I'm doing it for your own protection. You're not listening to me. You have to listen to me. I'm trying to take care of you. And for me, it came to a point to ask a question to him back, like, my parents were also protecting me before you, and they never really did this kind of a thing. So why am I getting this? I was not actually able to ask the question, because I don't know whether I'll be comfortable enough after asking that question. Because human brains or human life is all about comfort and familiarity. If you are not having that kind of a familiarity or comfort, you will always have the kind of feeling that you can't really do anything in your life. You will be afraid to step out of that line to have that step that you wanted to take. So when I had that question, I was not asking, but I was just going along, just feeling for myself like, okay, as he said, he is trying to protect me. So let me give that to him back. So I started listening more and more to whatever he wanted me to do. First time when he beat me, I took it and I again thought like, okay, he's loving me so much, so he's trying to protect me, and that is what he was telling me. So why am I fighting it back? Why do I need to fight it back? So I started taking it in that way, and it went to a place where I couldn't take anymore. I have to really go and ask help for somebody, from somebody. So that's how it became like too much.
Wow. Um, why? And I try to give the viewers so they can see your point of view. Why didn't you leave when you started to see the red flags? I know you said you felt as though it was love, but after the first time and then the second time, and I'm assuming you had your child during
Yes.
this time, so he
Yes.
was taking control over you.
Yes.
So why didn't you leave?
Okay. As a female, everybody will have these female. It's just not about female. Let me correct that sentence. As a person, everybody will have this question like, if I cross this line, what is after this? Is there, that is what I was talking about, like the familiarity and the comfort. If you don't know what is after, you will not be comfortable. You will have that fear that is holding you back to even step out of your comfort zone. The comfort was slowly given to you, though you are getting abused in that place. That was your comfort there. You are familiar with that area, you are familiar with the person, you know what is going to happen. If he is going to beat you, you already know that. So you will slowly started accommodating what he wants, but you can't accommodate your own needs because you are afraid to cross that line. You are afraid of your own freedom. That's why you will never have the kind of strength or like the power to step out and say like, okay, I'm done with this, I just can't take it anymore. You will always look for some other person to give you that comfort or like that strength to step out of that line. But however, I wanted to remind one thing, like, even for example, I'm in that situation, and if you come to me and say like, okay girl, I'm going to help you, do you wanted to really step out of it? I'm going to come and pick everything from you, I'll take your child, you, and I'll give you a safe house and everything. Will I be really comfortable to just step out? My question would be like, what will happen if I go there? What will happen if he follow me there? What is that she can do me? How long I can stay there? All these questions, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, that will stop us. Have we ever thought one time, what if I really step out and do what happens? We will not do that. Instead, we'll keep asking those what if questions, and we'll be at the same place and get abused for how many ever days, months, years, or whatever that we are with. So that is the biggest reason that I was in that. And another reason is, Indians, you might be familiar with, female will not be financially independent in India. Not everybody. In those days, it is not. Maybe right now people are changing a lot and wanted to be independent in financially. But that is one of the major reasons again for the female not to step out of any kind of abuse. And another thing, our parents, how we brought up, the tradition they talk about is like, what will others think? What will others say if we are going to step out of that relationship? For example, my own parents, when I was at the edge of thinking like, okay, happened is happened, I cannot take this anymore, I stepped out. I did not leave the house, but I went to my father, telling him like, hey dad, hey mom, I am going through a lot, I cannot take this anymore, and the physical abuse is too much. Actually, even I don't have to say, my I had a big cut here. I mean, I don't know if you're able to see or not. um, but yeah, I have a cut here, I have a cut on my hand, everywhere I have a lot of things. So my father was able to see my cuts on the face, and he asked like, what exactly happening? And I have to really like tell him. I wanted to tell him. I felt like enough is enough, I just wanted to tell him and see what's happening. He heard everything. He did not say anything to me. He's like, okay, you just go take rest. I was My house where I was living with my ex-husband and my parents' house was hardly 10 minutes away with each other. So my father was like, okay, just go and take rest. And I went inside, and when I was walking out again, for some reason, I don't remember, I heard my father talking to my mom saying, I don't want this girl to be a divorcee. I cannot take her as a single person in this society. I don't think, I don't mind even if she is going to die, but I don't want her to be a divorcee. So if your own parents are to a point for the societal feelings, like what everybody will think, what everybody is going to judge, what everybody is going to say to us, our family tradition, our like the honor is just gone because of this girl right now. So we don't want to jeopardize everything that we have built over the years. So can she adjust the I want you to go and talk to her. He was talking to my mom actually. He was telling to my mom to come and talk to me to get adjusted with whatever is going with me. By the time I was getting abused physically a lot, my husband was having multiple affairs all around. He was actually bringing those women to house, my own house, and he was with them in my room, and I was actually staying outside. This is what I was living with when I explained it to my parents. But my parents' support for that is like what others will think. That is where our culture, that is what our lives are there. So if anybody is going to go through that, if another person is going to give you any help, I would suggest anybody like take any opportunity, whatever the opportunity is, big or small, just try to take that opportunity and use it to your advantage to step out of whatever the hell that you are living with. Nothing is going to be bigger or like more problematic than what you are taking there. So yeah.
Is your is or was your family like affluent, in regards to them being worried about their reputation, or just culturally, is that just that happen amongst, most families in India?
Most of them are like this. It's with almost everybody that I hear. 90% I can say, or even more. As I said, like, yeah, man, this happened 15 years ago for me. So at the time it was like that. I don't know about right now. I just left that country and I'm here.
She, well, like, how did this is just it's a ride, okay? How did you eventually, make it out, make it away? Because I the way it's just like, hearing, just how bold he was, like that is it's infuriating. Especially when I know now you're at, more of a healed place. I'm sure, you handle things way differently now. And I know personally, I dwell on things that I should have done, in that moment. So I know you would just have a list of, of memories like that. But how did you eventually, make it out of that situation?
When I heard my parents that way, the first question for me is like, I am not financially independent. If I leave that person, I have to be with my parents. So there is no other way for me. So I wanted to equip myself and be financially independent. I'm not very well educated at the time. I just finished my graduation, and with graduation back in India, there you won't really find a decent lifestyle. So the next thing that I did was like while I was going through these things, I had my son. In the first year, by the first anniversary, I have my son. When my son was 1 year, 8 months exactly, all these things were like in that pace. So I thought like, okay, I have to study no matter what. I wanted to do my master's, regardless whatever is going on. So I enrolled myself into the college back again without telling anybody, without asking anybody on anything. I pledged my gold. I went and borrowed some money from other banks and credits. I did whatever I can do and paid my tuition fees for 3 years straight, one after the other year, 3 years straight. And I completed my master's. By the time I completed my master's, I myself could see a change in myself, because right now I don't have a fear of like, yeah, being a dependent on somebody's other's judgment, or like somebody other thoughts doesn't matter to me anymore. For me, I wanted to be safe enough. I wanted to take care of my son. That is what my only thought was. And when I was actually doing my education, my master's, by the end of the last year, I got one of the jobs that I was looking for as a campus selection. So I had interview in the campus itself before I completed my last year. I got a job there, and I never looked back afterwards. Though that was the starting point to actually step out of the first boundary, that gave me a taste and feel of like, I can do things. I don't have to be dependent on anybody. I don't have to ask anybody on anything. Stop expecting things from other people. If they are voluntarily helping you, trying to give you something, good. Take that opportunity and try to build whatever you wanted to build out of it. But if they are not able to help anything, remember that they are not able to help. It is not they are not able to help. It is that in the purview that they are in, that is the maximum they can do. Sometimes it could be just silence and silently watching you also. They are not coming and stopping you for anything, but they are not able to help you either, but that's okay. Stop expecting from others that they have to do you as if they are owing you something. For example, everybody says like, your parents must have done something. Your brothers must. I have a brother, elderly brother. Your brother might have done something. I would say only one thing. My father did whatever he can with whatever the mindset that he was brought up in that society, with that tradition, with that culture. My mother was able to help me in whatever the way by taking care of my son at the time when I was going to college. She doesn't have to do that. She could always say like, I can't take care, but she's a working woman at the time. She doesn't have to do that. She saw me struggling. She felt like, okay, if she is going to get into a job that she likes, probably her life might be better. So she started taking care of my son. My father used to take care of my son as well by picking him, dropping him to the schools because of my college timings, my education, and everything. They were able to do whatever they can. But if you are looking or expecting more than what they have to, you will always be disappointed, and you'll always be like blaming somebody for what you are going through. It is nobody's problem but yours. So whenever you have a problem, stop blaming and expecting. You will be in perfect shape and perfect life. You don't have to ask anybody help. If you are not able to take care of yourself, or if you really need help, open up with somebody that you really trust. Do not open up with everybody and anybody that you get. I have seen a lot of people that comes out and starts talking about what they were going through with everybody around. It doesn't need to be that way, because not everybody value your pain. You have your pain, you value your pain, and you need to find that one or two people that really respect and value your pain. So as long as you can find that one person, confide in them, talk to them. They also doesn't need to help you in anything, but at least you have a venting here at that point of time. You are just talking to them. You are telling them like, hey, I think this is a bad day for me, and I'm going through these kind of things. I might need help here and there. If it is financial help, if you ask, somebody might be able to do it, but not everybody also equipped to do that kind of help. So as I said, like, yeah, stop expecting and stop blaming everybody around you.
So I have two questions. How long did you go through the abuse with your husband, your ex-husband? And secondly, did you deal with abuse as a child? Is that why you accepted the abuse into adulthood?
Okay. Before marriage, I know my husband for 6 years. And after marriage, I was with him for about 12 years. So almost I was there for 18 years taking that abuse. It was mental, physical, financial, you name it. Every kind of abuse was there. By the time he understood that I am not going to take that anymore, he started the same with my son. That gave me tipping point to step out actually. But going back to your other question, did I had anything as a child? Honestly, at the family, it's not like a bigger thing. That is how Indian tradition. Maybe again, I don't know. More than me, my brother was given bigger preference at home for every little thing. It is like, let him do this, or let us pay for his tuition because he's a boy. End of the day, the girl is going to get married and move to another house. Boy is going to be here. So take care of him more than the girl. It's not like, yeah, for their affection or for their love or anything, but it is always a little bit more towards my brother. But if I have to blame and see it as if it is a bigger abuse, no, it is not. That is how it is in our society. So I can't blame that. But again, as a bigger abuse, if I have to really say, as a child, I was sexually abused by different men. That was not known, or like, it's not like not known, though I told my parents, they could not understand it properly, because that happened to me at a very young age. So at that age, with whatever the language that I was able to pick up, when I said that, they couldn't really understand. So it carried out from the age of 7 to almost like 17, 18, until I myself stepped up again, to say no to the people that were doing to me. Up until then, it was there. But does that really affect in taking this abuse? Definitely no. But that affected me to not finding a right person, I can say, because when my husband, ex-husband, was roaming around me and telling me that he is trying to protect me, that gave me a safer place, because up until then, when I was having this abuse going on around my house, though it was like my family at that time was like a combined family where there were like a lot of uncles, a lot of aunts, my parents, my brother, everybody was all around the place. Though I was in middle of so many people, I still got abused. But when this person started being around me, there was nobody around. Even the people that were doing that abuse to me were a little scared, because this person is always around me like a hawk. That gave me a little security in my life, where I felt comfortable with this kind of abuse rather than that kind of abuse. So I jumped into this, leaving that one. So that's where my wrong step in life or wrong judgment. But household kind of a thing, it's there is nothing bigger actually. With parents and with everybody as a family, it's not a big thing. It is what it is.
That's unfortunate because just listening to you, it sounds like it went on for a long time, and I'm not exactly sure the extent of it, but if it made you uncomfortable, it made you uncomfortable. So that is extremely unfortunate that um, things are that way, and on a cultural level, America really isn't too different.
I know.
It's always in favor of the men, and boys will be boys type of thing, and we just kind of got to work around it.
Yeah.
um and with that being said, that is how a lot of abuse in the other direction gets under the radar, just to special mention. But it's not too different here, if you're wondering. Not at all. It's definitely a type of a preferential treatment to boys and families, over girls. We are still, in a sense, brought up to raise a home and make a home, and be expected to do those types of chores and things like that. So I mean, while we have our differences, we are generally the same. We are colonized by the same people, so we're gonna have some type of a connection there. Yeah.
That's why I tell my son, right now my son is 22-year-old, in another 3 months he'll be 23. So I tell my son, like, whenever he just feels like it is my responsibility to be in the kitchen, I literally will stop everything and I'll ask him to make dinner for me. I made him do that, but actually, even before I do that, he is. I'm really lucky with him, I have to say, at least. He's such a responsible kid. He understands what I have gone through. He is the first person I spoke about my childhood abuse. He was actually showing me one of the YouTube videos where 13 kids were talking about their abuse by their own family members. When he was showing that to me, we talk a lot actually. We are really close with each other. We talk a lot. He came out like around yeah, in 2017 or 18, I believe. He brought that video just sharing kind, and he was like, look at this, mom, these the he was like, the words he was putting up, like, these people are literally monsters here. I don't understand how they can touch kids like this. And he started going on and about, and I was like, what is actually happening to you? And he just started sharing the video. First 2 minutes, when I saw that, a couple of kids were sharing, every kid was sharing their experience for a minute or minute and a half at the max. By the time the second kid was about to finish, I started sobbing myself. And he was like, mom, I know that I cry even watching Tom and Jerry. Trust me, I'm like so all over the place. So he was like, I know that you cry even watching cartoon or anything if it is really touching, but I never saw you sobbing like this. What is actually happening with you? He stopped the video and he was like, he asked, and I couldn't answer him I couldn't answer him anything. For the next 2 hours, he was just holding me, sat beside me, and he was like, if you are not comfortable talking about anything, I'm not going to ask you a question. Stop crying, stop crying. So I just sat like that for 2 hours. After 2 hours, I collected my words and I told him only one sentence saying, something like this happened to me when I was a kid. I tried to explain to my parents where they never understood anything. So it happened for almost like 10 years. It's not one person, it's almost like four people. For me to give that kind of information to him, I told him first time was like, something like this happened to me when I was a kid. That's all I was able to say. I did not say a word. He just hold me so tight. He hugged me for the whole night, sitting right next to me in the couch, and he said, like, you are safe now. If you want to cry, cry it out. I don't want to see you again like this. I know this is not easy. I know, I understand this. He did not ask any more questions at all, but he was just giving me that comfort. He was telling me that I'm safe in his arms. I call him actually mini dad. He was giving that comfort for a very long time. And over next 8 months or so, whenever he can get a question, he'll pop one question to me asking like, so does anybody know about this? Who are the people? What happened to you? He don't really pose the question as I said right now, but he will actually get to that question in the conversations, whatever he's trying to explain about his school things or any other things. Every day we talk about like, excuse me, an hour and a half, or even 2 hours sometimes. Excuse me. So whenever he talks, he just pose some kind of a question in between, get to my childhood, ask about my school experiences, so on and so forth, and get these questions and topic in between, and made me feel so comfortable and made me actually start talking about it. Once I really like opened up completely after 8 months, he's the one who told me like, mom, you suffered in silence for so many years. One, it is your child abuse, and after marriage you have gone through so much. Your story is going to help a lot of people. Why don't you start helping other people instead of just being like this? And that idea paved the way for Journey podcast for me.
That is beautiful. Which leading into, we're going to take a really quick 30-second break and we will be right back. We're all drinking water coming back.
Yes, caught us in the act.
Welcome back. I have a really quick question. So from 7 to 17, You were molested by four different people. Your parents never ever noticed any changes or in your behavior or anything? Because I know you had to have some behavioral changes. Um,
Since it was a big family, as I told before, like it's a combined family with everybody all around, at least every single time, at any given time, we used to have at least like 10 to 15 people in the house. So nobody has a real time to give attention to one person or one person's behavior or any of that sort. And if you are not behaving, they'll spank us and they'll like, yeah, they think they have to get us in line. All that they understood was I was not doing well in studies. So they try to teach me whatever they can, and they gave up after a certain point. I'm not like a bad student. I'm like B plus kind of a student. So my brother is always like topper in the school, topper in the university, topper with everything. He is like a national merit scholarship for whole India. They pick only 500 students to give that scholarship, and he started getting that scholarship from his seventh grade up until his engineering final year. So when compared to him, I'm not a bright student at all. So their idea, the entire family's idea is like she's not that kind of a bright student, so don't push her to study more. There is nothing that she can do. That is what her maximum can be. That is the only difference they saw, and they just compromised with that kind of an idea, and they never really like yeah cared much about it. Anything that I do out of it, it is like yeah, it's like that age transition, teenage transition period, and she'll come around.
I have a question. Um, Now, with your parents helping you out with your son while you were studying, had by that time had the dynamic in the household changed? Like, were the everybody still present in the house at all times? And also with that being said, now at the point of which when your son kind of figured out what was going on, again, was that family dynamic the same? Have you ever had to, like, point out to him, it was them? Are they still kind of around, or has your son ever had any interaction with them, or have you ever been fearful, that anything could happen, based on the fact that he did spend a lot of time with his grandparents?
I They were not there after my senior year. Everybody started. I mean, my mother is the first person in the whole family for them, and after her, there were like 14 brothers and two sisters. That's how big her family is. Since she is the elder person, when she got married, the last sister was 2 year old for her. So, having that said, by the time I came to my senior year, majority of my uncles were like really up to like marriage age and so on and so forth. So they started picking up their lives and left the house. It's not like yeah everybody is around. There are a couple of people here and there, but it is not like 10, 15 people like before. So yeah, as I said, like by the time the senior year, the house was like kind of more of empty, just leaving us. It's just me, my brother, father, and mom. That's all it was. One or two uncles will always be there, like shuffling around, but it is not like they're always there with us. But they'll be there around. By the time my son was there, I mean, that is the same thing that carried around. People will be coming in and out, but it is not like they're staying with us at all.
I'm,
So
I'm grateful for that. At least that's not something you had to worry about while also worrying about studies. And I know that fear is kind of heightened once you've been through it, especially for your own kids. So I'm grateful you didn't have to worry about that and nothing happened in that regard.
I don't know if it is fortunate or unfortunate, I have to say. The people who did to me, three out of the four men passed away. Two of them were literally kind of. One person was when he started, he himself was like at 55 plus age person when I was 7 years old. So after that, it was like 35 plus kind of a person when I was 10 to 12 years in between. Then after it was uh, 30 years around. And then again, it was another person like 45 years around. Three out of them passed away. By the time I even actually spoke about these things to my son in 2017, they passed away. Only one person is there. Two
So,
of
did you ever tell your parents the names of who did this to
them,
you?
I did. Two
What
of
was
them
their
are my own uncles. Two of them are my own uncles. So I told my mom after writing my magazine that you read right now,
reaction?
that article, I gave that to my mom and I asked not even me actually, my son asked my mom to read that. My mom stays with me. Actually, she's in downstairs right now. But yeah, my son gave her the magazine, asked her to read it. She read it. She closed the magazine and said, "Okay," and left. That was her
What?
that was her expression. I was like, I don't want to say anything. I just saw her and I looked at my son again. My son was like super and angry. He went back and he pulled my mom back again and asked her, "What was your expression when you say just okay and left? What do you mean by that?" Her her sentence was like, "Why do you choose to talk about it now? You are talking about my family." I did not mention any names in the magazine if you really read it. I said my uncles, but I never mentioned any name. How does she even know that it is her family?
Do
So
you think
what
she
I
learned
understood with what I understood with that is I think they might have had a hunch, but they just put it under the rug. They just wrapped it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want me to talk about it anytime. So anytime if I even tried to open up about it, the last person who was doing to me was my dad's brother, not an own brother, but yeah, a cousin brother. And he is a reverend in a church. And he started doing that. I stood up for him, and I came back to him. When I was actually like shouting at him, saying like, "Yeah, take his hands off of me." The person told me like, "Do you think that if you are going back to your father now and telling him he's going to believe you, he'll believe me more than you?" I was a little shocked with that statement, but I still wanted to talk to my father. I went back. I'm 17 years old at that time. I know what the heck is happening, and I don't have to like keep it closed anymore. So I went to my father. I told him like, "Dad, I'm not really comfortable with this person around. So can we ask him not to come here?" My dad didn't understand why I said that, I believe, but he gave me a warning saying like, "You're talking about a God's person and this is not how I'm supposed to talk about him anymore. If I'm not uncomfortable, I have to pray more and I have to understand what is happening for myself instead of actually telling the other person not to come home." That was the idea or like suggestion given to me to stop what I was talking about. By then I understood like there is no point in talking about anything in that house. It's not that they can't support it, it's more of the fear for everything and everybody around. They can't really do anything, so how long am I going to fight with them, mm, expecting them to cross the line instead I can do it myself? Why am I pushing for from that from somebody else? So I felt like I can work for myself. I wanted, this is my problem. I have to solve it end of the day. If I keep expecting from somebody, nothing is going to happen. If I keep blaming my father for however long, or like my mother for knowing and just letting it happen, how long am I going to blame her and feel for that? Even today, whenever my mother goes back to India, she goes to the church where he preaches. I tell her, like, how do you even face him after knowing the fact? And she's like, I'm not actually going there to uh, listen to him in specific. Then I'm like, there are a number of churches. In the same church, there are many services. Go for another thing. But you are choosing to go only the. And she says, like, it is familiar. And all her friends and everybody comes to the same service, and it is so familiar. And listening to him preaching makes her feel like, yeah, God is with her and she don't want to stop it. And I'm like, yeah, if that is what you want to choose, that's felt Okay, fine.
Do
Um, I
do other
started
people
waiting.
know that he's done that? I mean, is it known that he's a molester?
I don't know how many people came out. I mean, after leaving India, I never really have any ties with any. After actually confronting him on that time when it was happening to me, I never really met him at all. I never saw his face. I don't know. I have no idea whatsoever what is happening to him. But as I said, like, yeah, mom goes to the same church. She was listening to him for ages, and recently, I believe she was mentioning that he was retired or something. I don't know. But yeah, for everybody in the society, sorry, for everybody in the society there, he's like God's child. God voice is heard through his voice or the drama, all that.
I have an extremely personal question, so feel free to decline if need be. Um, Only because it just I kind of ask questions based on the type of person that I am. Which is, I'm still healing, I'm still working on it on some things, but um
I'm here.
oh, okay, she moved you off the screen. Um we just heard you say, your mother is living with you, and just kind of hearing your experience. It seems like over the years and still currently, she still continues to kind of fail you in that department.
Yeah,
Now I assume it's just kind of a non-negotiable cultural thing. You take care of your parents when it's time.
yeah.
um if that was not the case, where would you be on that theory? And I want to wait to answer that question. Okay. I want to wait to answer that question just so we can see you. But take it away.
If it is not a cultural and a traditional thing, would I really take care of her? I would. I would answer it in two different ways, yes and no. If I keep digging into my past and just live there in my past, sometimes it feels like I don't want her around me. I don't want to keep watching her and relive my trauma again and again. It feels that way, to be honest. Like 2 days before, 3 days before, I literally cried while my son was asking a question to her. The way she puts up things with me is like, I don't like girl child. She says it on my face like a million times every single time whenever there is a chance. And the way she puts it is like, that's the reason I treated you the way I treated you. And I was quiet and I was still hearing whatever she was mentioning. And she continued saying, like, yeah, right now, with the place where you are in, the maturity that you have, and the way that you decide things, or everything that you are dealing, I really like the way the person you became now. So I'm interested to stay with you, but I don't like a girl, so I don't like you. So with this kind of statement, couple of times hearing, my son was like, "What do you exactly mean, Nanny? What are you talking about? Why do you keep saying the same thing that you don't like girl child?" She repeated that again, and I just said her back, like, in that conversation in between. I was just telling both of them, like, that is why she let everything happen to me, and she accepted it. She said, like, yes, that is the reason I let everything happen to you. This is why I let people talk to you in the way they spoke to you. I mean, everybody just takes me for granted at house. They just use whatever the words they wanted to. They just treat me like as if I don't even know, like as if I'm like a servant or something. That's how bad I was treated at some point of time in my life. And she now says, like 2 days before, she now says, like, I know they are treating you like that. I let it happen because I don't like a girl child. For me, like, I'm 45 years old right now. Do you expect me to listen to this and to take care of you now? Do you expect me to do that now? How many times, how long do you expect me to forget my past, or like forget whatever you have done? And everybody uses a forgive word. I don't know what forgiveness for everybody is. How long are you going to say that you are forgiving somebody, you are forgetting something that happened? Nothing is forgivable and forgettable. If you are facing trauma, if you have gone through trauma, that lives with you. Healing is not one day thing. Throughout your life, you have to struggle. You have to work on yourself so much. There will be so many nights where you will be on the bed crying to yourself to just get out some of the things that you have gone through. It's not one time thing. When the person that is staying right next to you is keep giving the same thing again and again, or keep adding fuel to the same thing, there should be a point to stop it, is what I think. So I was at a point to talk to my brother, asking him like, hey, do you mind to take care of her for some time? Or like, yeah, send her back home for some time. Let me actually like, yeah, take a breath and understand if I'll be able to take care of her again or not. Please, please, I really wanted to go back to my brother and talk about this. Last night only I had this conversation to my son. I told my son like, I think I'm at a point I wanted to ask her to leave for some time. Even she is desperate to go back to India. So I'm not going to give the reasons to her why I wanted that space, but I need some breathing time for myself to really like to work on myself. She can't stay with me every single day and keep poking me with the same thing again and again. As I said, like, yeah, 45 years is not a small thing for me to keep taking an abuse again and again while she was treated as a princess in her entire family. So
Wow. I don't know. I understand a lot of what you're going through. Just at your state now, for me, I won't allow anyone to abuse. I tell folks straight up, I'm not going to allow you to abuse me. I've confronted abusers. Um, how are you still taking the abuse and healing at the same time? Like, I can only imagine what you're going through, and you're going through this healing process, but going through the healing process, you're still being abused. But in the abuse is reliving the traumas that you have went through. Like, how are you able to? I know at some point you feel like it's going to be so much to you. Do you ever feel like, I mean, that breakdown, that snap point? Um, how
it
do you
will
get the
always be
strength?
there. It will always be there. Though it is unfortunate to hear, like, here you resonate with me. I mean, we hear a lot of people saying that, like, I know I can understand what you're going through because I had similar experience. It's so unfortunate to hear that, first of all. But again, coming back to your question, how do I take it? First thing, whenever it pokes too much into the previous traumas, one thing I feel like, okay, she wanted to point out, for example, 2 days ago, yes, this is why, or like, this is the reason I let other people talk to her badly, treat her in a way like, yeah, she's the least cared thing in the house. When she said that, I healed through that once. So I'll take that, I'll start from a point where I left off the healing instead of going back all the way there. I try to disconnect with that situation first. I feel like, okay, she'll be always talking about the same thing. Why am I reacting it? The more you react, the more you suffer. So the reaction is your choice. If you wanted to react and keep crying about it, you will always be crying. There will be people around you to make you cry for every little bit in your life. Again, as I said, like, it's your choice what you wanted to choose at that time. Yes, she did make me cry at that time because that is the first time my son is actually hearing my mom say it onto my face. I was actually like telling him about, like, she's continuously saying these things these days again, like, I think I need a break, so on and so forth. I was having that conversation to my son. She did not even know about any of this conversation or anything. She just sat down and started giving that crap again. Sorry for my language. But yeah, When
You're
my
fine. This is a free space to, to allow your truths to come out. So you don't
Yeah,
have to
we
apologize.
say a lot worse. We say a lot
Yes,
worse.
thank you. But yeah, telling that before my son by herself, that really gave me a little it's not like I felt really bad. Why? What is that? My own mother is talking to me like this before my son. How would my son, after hearing this, if, for example, if my son is not really connected with me the way he's connected, or give that respect regardless what is happening around, I'll be in such a bad place even for my son. For me, that came into my mind for a split second, and I felt so bad. I've been working through this years. I've been keeping my son so close to me, to be actually connected with me on everything that is happening. Today, we don't have any secrets. We speak about everything. He talks to me about everything that is happening in his life. It doesn't matter about what topic it is. But he says, like, yeah, if I'm not telling you any topic, just fun friends topic or anything, it is just to keep you that respect, but it is nothing to do with anything secrecy or any of it. All of his friends have my number as an emergency contact. Excuse me. That's how much everybody is into me, talking to me, or anything that is happening around the kids. Because while I treat them as kids, I value their opinions. I talk to them in a way like, yes, you matter. You have to voice your opinion. You tell me, what do you feel. If I say this is wrong, you can question me, why do I feel like it is wrong. If it is just a habit, sometimes you will say like, yeah, do not wear, for example, do not wear shoes into the bedroom. He can come and ask me, he asked me like, yeah, why not. I don't like it. It is not like right or wrong. I don't like you doing that. If I'm not able to differentiate and tell him, well, my likes and dislikes versus actually right and wrong, I'm not giving him a right choice for him to choose what he needs to do. When I say like I don't like it, he just now don't wear the shoes inside my room. He says like, okay, you don't like it, right? So I'm fine. But don't tell me it is wrong. There is nothing wrong in it. A lot of people are there who wear shoes in their house. So what's wrong in that? So when she was talking before him for that period, that really hurt me in a way like, yeah, if you are trying to talk to me like that right before my son, so you are expecting my son also to treat me that way? Why can't he do that? He has every idea that you are giving to treat me that way. Instead, my son said only one thing: the daughter you hated so far is the one that is taking care of you. So be grateful for what you have. Be thankful that we are taking care of you. Next time, if you are sick or if you are on the bed and you expect us to run for you for whatever the reasons, depending on why you have that, what you did for getting it, we'll try to help you. If not, that it's your problem. My son was able to say that. I was not able to say that. I tell my son a lot of times, like, saying no is the hardest thing in life. I made him realize that early on. Even today, when he says that no to anybody, I am not able to say that. I have a lot of constraints to say no. I have a lot of constraints to stand up and say, like, I don't like this. I don't want this. But he just says it split second. He says, like, the way you brought me up or like the way you trained me, mom, everything is like either black or white. I don't have any gray area to feel what others feel, to have what others thoughts or any of it. If I don't like something, I don't like something. End of the day, I am responsible for my happiness. I have to be happy, so I'll try to do that. I'm not going to hurt anybody, but at the same time, I'm not going to compromise for somebody that if I don't like anything. So I always admire him for that way of living, for carrying that kind of thing. And I tell him, like, I have a lot to learn from you.
I'm curious. Were there any at the time, when you were young, were there any other, girls your age in your family at that time? Was it, happening to them? And why I'm curious is because it, happened with more than one person. So were they like talking amongst themselves about you, or like was it easy to get to you? Did they know specifically nobody was paying attention to you? Like how I'm wondering, how did they target you and, not mess with anyone else that that you might have know of. But I just find that very weird that, with the different age ranges of, who was abusing you, how you were the specific target. I find that very weird, and not a coincidence, but you know.
Two men, as I said, was out of family, and two men are inside the family. For the men outside the family and for the men who are inside, I'm the only girl child all around. There were no girls whatsoever. One of the person has their family somewhere. He's at the time when it happened, like when I was 7 and 8, my the house that we were living was having some construction work going on at a corner of the same place. So the person who was actually working for the construction, one of the persons, he was the first one to start. So he was 55 at that age, as I said. Like he started doing it to me, but he covered it up with my parents, saying that was the same thing I mentioned in my magazine too. Covered it up, saying like he was missing his grandchild. He was not having his family living with us in that place. He's the only person came from a village and started working here. So he said he was missing his family while he was playing with me. He remembered his grandchild. That was the story he said, and that's how he carried. The second person who started with me has two sons. He doesn't have a girl at all in the house. The third and fourth people, for my dad's brother, doesn't have kids at all. The other uncle, as I said, like my mom is the first one after her 14 brothers with two sisters in between. So 14 brothers, the last before one was the one who did, who is close to my age at the time. So I was the only female all around the place. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but happened.
Yeah. What is your like right now mentally like where do you stand? Like, do you still have like this I'm off these really depressive moments, or like where's your mental state right now?
I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if it is really like a blessing for me. I'm never into a depressive mode because of what happened to me in my childhood. First of all, I think I was depressed when I was getting abused after my marriage, with my physical abuse and mental abuse in my marriage, with the restrictions I was having all around. As in, like, yeah, I'm not allowed to wear anything, go out anywhere, or do anything on my own. Like, even cooking that I have to do is like on his interest. For those things, I think I am depressed, but it was not really like said out loud as depression. Because why I say like I might be depressed, because I never identified it as a depression, but I used to sleep a lot. Recent days, when I mean, once I started my healing journey past 15 years, I've been reading a lot. I start when I read like few of the things where it says like too much of sleep is one of the biggest reasons for depression. I used to sleep a lot at that time. Any minute if I can get, I can fall asleep. I'll sleep a lot. So maybe I might be depressed at that time, but the way I look at it is like, okay, I'm hurting here, jump onto a different place where I can be happy. I can feel I'm okay. It doesn't need to be happy or anything. I can feel okay with there. I don't want to live in this place. Even if it is mentally for me to disconnect with that situation, I'm fine. I'll be physically present at one place, but mentally disconnect with everything and everybody that are around me and what is happening around me. I can go to a different place. I created this place for my own, and I can be safe and happy there. So I don't really care what is happening here. So maybe that is one of the biggest blessing I can say, to have that kind of a place for me to escape from everything that is happening here. To at that place, what I feel is like I'm secure, I'm safe. I wanted to build my life. My focus is like, yes, I wanted to build my life. I don't want to sit here and cry. Yes, this is happening. I can't change this. Yes, something happened to me some time ago. I can't go back in time and change any of it. So why am I focusing on something that I can't change? Rather, why can't I plan for something? That's how, as I said, like, yeah, I did my master's while I was doing, when I got the job, the first week of my job, my vision, there was a vision, or like there was a picture of me coming into my mind every single day. Any minute that I think about it, I used to get scared. I used to get chills, feeling like, how in the world am I going to make that happen? This is not going to happen. But trust me, if you keep seeing an image, or if you have a vision, I would say only one thing that comes into your mind because you're capable of doing it. All you need to do is find avenues to make it happen. Do not think like you can't make it happen. You are not able to, you're not capable of it. No. The reason it came to your mind is because you can do it. Your mind will actually keep showing you where you have to go, what is your capability. But if you give too many constraints for it to hold it and stay where you wanted, it's your choice. But it is not like you're not capable of it. You are 100% capable of it. You can actually reach to the place you wanted to reach. All you need to decide is where you wanted to reach, what you wanted to do with your life. So that's how I move.
Beautiful words spoken, for sure. Now we've come to the point of our show here where we like to call shameless plug. If you want to let all of our viewers know how to reach you, how to contact you, what you're working on, what merch you have for sale, work you have for sale, anything, speaking engagements, whatever you want to share, and however anybody that has been touched by your life experience can contact you, for anything. How can they do so?
Any platform, you can find me with my name, Smitha Gunturi, and I have my own website. You can contact me through that website too. It is again smithagunturi.com. I don't have any merchandise or anything. If at all it is possible, if you wanted to give it forward, I would request you choose something that you can help with to the people that really need your help. It doesn't matter with finance. It doesn't matter with your presence. Whatever you can do, just do it. People need help. People need other people always. Even if you can just listen to somebody, give your shoulder for them to cry, please do it. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And I'm so honored. And this is one of the beautiful interviews I have.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in to Unfiltered Unspoken. We are going to continue to share life experiences to help others going through similar situations. I hope that y'all tuned in to Smitha today and listened to all her traumas from childhood to adulthood. She jumped out of childhood traumas directly into adulthood traumas of abuse. Abuse is abuse, no matter what the abuse is. We are on a mission to bring awareness to child molestation, childhood traumas, abuse traumas, adult abuses traumas, domestic violence, to men, women, youth, even the abuser, to help y'all realize that you're abusing and how many folks that you are hurting, and maybe you can potentially get some help once you recognize that you need help. Again, thank you for tuning into Unfiltered Unspoken. We will definitely see you soon.